Okay, and we're back. I was studying some audio engineering last night. Well, not really that much. I was just trying to figure out the whole, why is there a hiss in the back of my voice? And it just turned out it's like, oh, just increase the volume of your voice. Yeah, that's cool and all, but my microphone works on that if I turn up the volume, you'll eventually start picking up background noise. So I kind of need the noise cancellation. It's very important, and it works super well. So if you're like having a phone call like in the next room, you're not going to hear it. No, sir. This is the waterfall place with the Tracker Barrel Trek, where no cog has gone before. For these voyages. I know, we can't use the word Trek in oral conversation because it's been taken over by sci-fi. I know. But Trek does mean something, which is an adventure. In fact, Star Trek is supposed to refer to a certain kind of thing that was, I guess, established in Westerns in the 50s. It's kind of weird how Westerns were big in the 50s, well after their time period passed, and, like, considering what really happened in those periods was a very short amount of time, somewhere in the 1800s, compared to all kinds of other genres or settings. Just milk it for all it's worth. And we just made up what's happening as it goes along, including, like, adding steampunk elements or something. We just do whatever here in the Americas. Yeah. So the barrels will follow you around up to a certain point. Make sure you know where the limits are. You're going to fall off and feel dumb. Also, you might come out of it in a T-pose form. I don't think you want that. What do you mean you don't want that? Well, my lawyers tell me Tracker Barrel Trek is the best level in all of all time. No, this waterfall is brown. This is a brown area. Everyone knows that nothing is real unless the color is completely brown, which is why I will do brown games from now on. No colors, only brown. How dare you do bright and cheery video games and then interlace them with dark and serious games that are still fun? I don't know. You tell me. That's kind of the mood whiplash of what the 90s is. Bright and cartoony plus serious and dark. I just had both of those things, like, all at once. Just because at the same time, I mean, there was already, like, efforts to, like, advertise to children well before the 90s. But it really hopped up into gear because people started taking the advertisement products seriously as opposed to just being like, alright, here's this toy, here's a cartoon based around it. No, it started as, like, animation for some reason got real good, and I think it's because we were outsourcing it to, like, Japan and Korea at the time. Like, since the 80s. So somewhere in the 80s, like, there's a fucking golden age of animation, specifically. Wouldn't say there was a golden age of comics. Not really. I mean, I like the comics of the 90s, but that's just me. And it's not like they shouldn't be taken too seriously. But there's really a lot of good cartoons in the 90s, and most of them, if you catch up with what they do now, is just make them all CGI, which is okay if you actually make it good. Like 2012 Ninja Turtles is actually good. I don't know about the one after it. I can't make an opinion because I haven't seen it. Although I prefer 2003 Turtles. Yeah, we talk about Ninja Turtles here. To make up for the fact that I'm not doing a Ninja Turtles LP right now. It's not even their fault. It's just what kind of game it is. It's beat 'em up, you beat shit up, and it happens quick. Plus, I'm trying to avoid doing arcade stuff. That's not really a good fit here. Like, arcade style, but if it's for, like, if it feels like you're going to put a quarter in the arcade machine, by the way, the origin of microtransaction was probably the arcade machine, if you think about it really carefully. It's really the same as that. Only now there's ads laced with it, too. So, imagine your arcade machine, but every time you want to start the game, there was an advertisement. That's what's happening now. In fact, it's happening at your local gas station. Probably. Where there's an ad playing while you're trying to, put gas in your tank. It's very strange, and I feel like it's completely unnecessary. But I'm surprised that's the only kind of place they do it at. Like, I'm sure they do it elsewhere, but at, like, gas stations? Like, these aren't even local ads. These are, like, general-ass ads that'd be more suited for, like, television, and they're putting them in your local gas station. It's like, I know you're trying to get your reach out there, but does your demographic here even care? I suppose the store manager was like, this is cool. Maybe they got it on a what do they call it when the government spends money just to make a business go? A subsidy. Yeah, maybe there's like a subsidy on that kind of thing, and I don't know about it. Alright. The elephant is gone. It turns into the barrel. You only get once. It's the first time that happens. Make sure you do it right, or you're going to have to start the level all over again. Luckily, it is not frustrating in that you know it's going to happen. So, instead of just randomly timing it, you prepare yourself. So, at least you get that kind of chance. So when you screw up, you actually just screw up. And not a thing you can do about it except do it again. Do it again! How dare you! My friends, we're going underwater. I used to fear this level, just like Slime Climb in the last game. Yeah. Really, games have done me no favors when it comes to being underwater. I don't, like, it's just wrong. Plus, it's like, you're on a kind of a pseudo-timer with this fish behind you. Eventually, it's going to get disgusted with you that's not eating, and it's going to choose to eat you instead of the other, like, animals. So it's only temporarily on your side, as long as you keep it well fed. Yeah, so as long as it's blue, you're okay. So you have this stat, you have about, like, 4 statuses, and when it gets to the 4th... Here in status 1, it's okay. Status 2, you're still okay, but you're at risk, and then status 3, you're very much at risk, but you can correct it. And status 4 means it's going to bite you, and then you're going to lose a calling, and it'll go back to, like, maybe status 1 or 2. But, yeah. Yeah. Don't let it eat the urchins. It's not good for its diet, I imagine, because of all the needles. So you have to carefully steer him behind you to make sure he doesn't eat them. Not that I can prevent it totally from happening, mind you, but it does do that thing. This is the most basic 15 banana collection underwater I can imagine. This is the equivalent of a, like... What is this the equivalent of? I was just talking about arcade games, so it just feels like that. It's like single screen, you just do something under a time limit, and then you go on and do it again. I was watching Norman Caruso's The NES Light Gun Zapper. Wow. Like, good quality again. Even though I didn't even need to know that much about the Zapper. But I did recognize some of the Zapper games that I thought people forgot. I'm not talking about Duck Hunt. I'm talking about that one based on that 50s cartoon. I was just thinking about that, because that's something I have a memory of actually playing with the actual Zapper. I'm like, oh, sweet. It's my personal favorite of the Zapper games. Probably because it's not like it has... Some of them was just Zapper added on for other stuff, like what they said with Konami. But with that one, it was like... when the game's totally featured around the NES Zapper. Kind of like how there's some Super Nintendo stuff here with the Super Scope. If I were to do something like that, it'd probably be the Yoshi Safari thing. But also, like, if I ever try to do something like that with the peripheral, especially with, like, a Wiimote, right? Or if it was with, like, a DDR pad, I think I'd have to start webcamming to show you my input at that point. That's where I draw the line. It's just like... You really need to see what the gun's doing for the gameplay there. I guess with the DDR pad, you don't really need to do it, but, like, you know, otherwise someone would think you're just using your hands, so we watch people dance to prove a point. Not that you need to do that. But no, I'm just saying, I'm just imagining what a Zapper gun LP must be like. You know, this guy in the corner that's shooting while there's, like, Virtual Cop or House of the Dead going on, you know? Rail shooters. And those are okay. Not LPable, but it's like... I guess some of them... I guess House of the Dead could be. Or that counterpart, which is Typing of the Dead, where you use a keyboard. It's really cool. Any more typing games? that aren't just like... Like, it's technically edutainment, and ouch, I've been eaten. Right. Looks like I'm going to have to take it a little more serious. Also, yes, he goes to status 2 and not status 1, so you're still slightly in trouble, but less so. These guys are so freaking fast. I'm going to have him eat him because I know there's something up here. Just by memory. Just by memory. In fact, the only stuff I didn't remember was probably some of the last content of the game, just like a few things. Just like, oh yeah. Then it came back to me because I just didn't need a refresher. Everyone always remembers the first few worlds, and then after that becomes a blur and just like, until the end. So the middle is probably you do the worst in the game. Which is why it's important to show you the journey that I go on. A journey to video game land. I'm not bashing the enemies. I'm feeding them to my fish. It's crazy. I'm expecting my fish to grow larger and larger gradually until it can eat the sun. Like, that's something they had on, like, Grow.io or something. If you want to do it multiplayer-wise. And as separate symbols. Yeah, it's the only sign in the game that forbids that fish. Awesome, right? Here's a barrel. That is relatively easy. I don't know why we bothered here. I guess the trick is make sure you can do the team jump. Otherwise, you're boned. You should know how to do the team jump by now. Do it. Do it live. Now the rocks go down, and now we have access to a boss. I don't actually see the boss face on here, but this is a boss. And it takes place in a waterfall level. This is Squirtle's showdown. Okay? Part of the Squirtle squad. He's going to squirt for you in your sleep. So, you're going to, like, in some irony, squirt him back as an elephant in order to deal with him. What kind of critter is he? That's a good question. A mollusk? You shoot him in the... you know, because this is a mollusk, I can't actually tell you what gender this thing is. So, have at it, everyone. It's definitely a mollusk, or maybe even an arthropod or shellfish. That's the only guess. It's not like it needs to be important, but yeah. If I kill this person, or what have you, it will probably die, and then, yeah. Just keep shooting the eyes. It'll gradually go faster. You're gonna go around in a pinwheel motion. It's gonna be alright. Everything will be alright. Having a hard time with M. Dickey. Why do I say this? Just to be Dickey. Again. He must be blind soon. And yes, another item will spurt off him. It's either a bonus coin or you get like an inventory item. That's fun. It adds to the charm, doesn't it? Alright, one more of these. Take this, Mr. Eyeball Man. I am Mr. Eyeball, my favorite time of day. Going around circles saying, what the hey? Okay. There we go. It apparently swallowed a single ski. What it is one half of a water ski board thing, and you need the second one from World 4 in order to finish the next vehicle, which will take you up waterfalls. It's the turbo ski. It reminds me of having a Sea-Doo, actually. I didn't have one. I just knew about Sea-Doos. So it is like, jet water ski. You get the whole deal. Shadeal. But yeah, we need the other one to fill the whole item, but you get to see it in its single form as opposed to its dual form. Is there anything else we can do? No, I guess I'm just going to have to load into World 4. I suppose that's what we're going to have to do. No in-between nonsense. None whatsoever. Next time we'll go to basically the factory world. So obviously it is amazing, in my opinion. And there'll be fireballs, but really they're cheesy poofs. The cheese puffs. The cheese puff balls that get shot at me. I don't think they're made of fire. I think they're cheese. See you there.